Hello, everyone. When I was young, I loved to dance, but I wasn't the professional kind of dancer who actually went weekly to ballet class and put my hair up in a bun or did tap or jazz dancing or even hip hop, like many of the girls I knew that they went weekly to classes at a local dance school. That was never in the cards for me. Instead, I just loved to put on music and dance, and that even continued until I was in high school. I specifically always thought that I would have loved to be a ballet dancer. So in high school, had a ghetto blaster, this old tape cassette player that would sit on my dresser, and I would put in classical symphony music, Tchaikovsky, Rachmaninoff, and I would play it, and I would don my own very special pair of dancing slippers. Now, these were not ballet slippers officially, but for some reason, every Christmas, my Grandma Grace would put in my stocking above the fireplace for Christmas morning a pair of isotoner slippers. And these were kind of slippers that old ladies wore around the house. They're pretty much like slippers you get out of bed with, but these had a pink satin top, a suede bottom, and then, of course, about a half-inch thick cushion in them to keep these old ladies' feet comfortable as they walked around the home. So those are my own version of ballet slippers because I grew up in a Victorian home and my bedroom was very large and it had all wood floors, similar to what you would see in a ballet studio. So I would turn on that classical music, and even in high school, I would start to do my own version of ballet moves that I had learned from watching things like the Nutcracker or ballet on PBS TV as a kid. I would spin around and keep a spot in the floral wallpaper that my head would swivel and come back to every single time I did a spin. I would cross my legs and attempt to jump. The main issue I had was that my bedroom did not have a door. And so undoubtedly, my little sister Hillary, would creep up the steps. And right when I was in the middle of my most powerful dance moves, my plies, she would be laughing right outside my door and mocking me and making fun that here's this teenage girl trying to learn how to dance ballet. But what's so weird is that something I've loved for so long slipped away. In fact, I think it's kind of a measurement of how free I feel in a certain stage of life. And I would say for the last 20 years, there's been times when I've been sure to make myself dance, but I no longer have that freedom to do that. And I'm not going to lie to you, the last 6 months have been very difficult for me. I have lived on an antidepressant for the last 10 years of living overseas in a very dark country, physically dark, way north, similar to Alaska and Estonia. And an antidepressant is really what I needed to be the mom I wanted to be the person I wanted to be. And so I've been on that. But when I returned to the US 2 years ago for a normal cycle in our organization, my doctor really wasn't willing to keep prescribing them and wanted me to try life without an antidepressant. So I took a year of weaning myself off little by little from an antidepressant. Even in the end, I was taking little liquid drops. I was trying to fool my brain into adapting to life without an antidepressant. And unfortunately, my psychiatrist and I did not put together the math that my final week on the meds would be the same week I took my first child, my teenage son, and dropped him off at college a whole day's drive away. Due to that and many other changes in my life, I went into a pretty deep depression, I would say, August, September, October. And I've been climbing my way out ever since, trying to see if I can do all the lifestyle habits, think correctly, working with a therapist to try to live life, the second half of my life without the antidepressant. Because if I were to stay on it now, then I'd be looking and staying on it probably forever. So although I love what antidepressants have helped me do in my life, I want to try and see what life is like without it. And honestly, yesterday was a pretty low day. I don't have those as much anymore, but it was a pretty bad day. It ranked up there with some of the worst with depression, and yet it's my writing day. And so this week, I've put together something different. I've put together a list of some of the best things I've encountered in the last month. They range from a podcast that stopped me in my tracks while I was on the treadmill to a recipe that my teenage daughter went back for second helpings, and also a song that I've been trying to use to fight my depression and to retrain myself to dance. So, what are those things in your life that you also need to rebirth, to reignite something in you that maybe has been missing since you were a child? Something that just shows that you're free, that you're enjoying this great life you've been given. And so I hope this list that I've made, even of some of my favorite books and songs, helps you do that. No matter who's watching in the doorway of your bedroom, that finally you just get up, put a smile on your face, spin around, do something you love, and dance. Thanks for reading and for following me at oliviapuccini.com.